Are you stuck in a creative rut? Well, this video is for you. Stay tuned. We're going to give you some guitar life hacks to get you out of there and back on the road to creativity. Stay tuned. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee.
And I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like our videos. If you'd like to support the channel and have more fun, visit the link below to learn how to become an Alamo Music Insider. So today we are talking about creativity guitar hacks. And if you're like me, not Cooper, you've never been in a creative rut ever in your life, right? No writer's block or anything
I'm always
like that?
in one. Every day. That's my secret.
That's your secret. Yeah, no, for real. I mean, it's a thing that happens, whether it's practicing the same old stuff or just becoming frustrated with your progress or your playing. I think all of us have found ourselves there at one point or another. And a lot of you have probably found this video because you're in that creative rut and you went on YouTube and typed in how do I get out of this guitar rut that I'm in? And you found our video, so look at that. And otherwise, maybe you just subscribe and you're gonna tune in and see what idiotic things we say today. So you wanna go first or show? So let's talk about a few things that I think Cooper and I agree on as far as stuff that can kind of get those juices flowing again, help you almost rediscover the instrument and find yourself, in uncharted waters, which is really a good thing. I found that in playing guitar, and just like in life, having the kind of learn mode on and being uncomfortable is typically a long-term good thing. Would you agree?
Totally, yeah.
Good. So with that in mind, let's get started at the very beginning. And the thing that I think I would recommend above a lot of other things is start dabbling with alternative tunings. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. One of my favorite all-time guitarists and songwriters, Joni Mitchell, who I mentioned right before this.
Right before this,
I was talking about Joni Mitchell.
he called me Joni.
Yeah.
She has longer flowing hair than I do.
Me too.
And less facial hair.
Yeah. She, famous for just doing wild, interesting tunings and experimenting. And it's cool because you listen to it and you're like, how would she ever come up with this? Yeah. Like Ladies of the Canyon is a good example. That really beautiful music, but the tunings just like blow my mind. And I think a lot of it was just experimentation and finding cool things. And then on top of that, you're into DADGAD.
Yeah.
They're like already kind of established alternative tunings that you don't need to just like be doing random stuff to figure out something good at, I think DADGAD's a really cool one, open tunings.
Yeah, I think early on, the things that did it for me was E-sus, which I'm technically in right now, DADGAD, drop D. Drop D is super easy, right?
Yeah.
You literally are detuning one string, and you can have so much fun with it. When I do my arrangement of Amazing Grace, it's just drop D. DADGAD is a lot of fun. There's a low C tuning that I started doing, trying to learn an old Doyle Dykes song. Yeah. About 20 years ago. I'm still trying to learn that song. But the tuning's great.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch out there. There's a lot of open tunings. There's kind of an open D minor that I like playing stuff in that's very bluesy.
Yeah.
So I have found that it's extremely uncomfortable because the minute you put your guitar in a different tuning, you don't know any chord forms.
Yeah.
Your scale patterns are all messed up. And some people that are just virtuosic out there are like, they immediately adapt. But I think for most of us, you kind of have to find your way through it.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part. And that's where the magic is. So you were mentioning, we don't have anything mic'd up here, but you were mentioning Joni Mitchell. Yeah. And the reason you're mentioning Joni Mitchell is because I was playing with this Builder's Edition 324 CE, and I had in my desk here this old shortcut capo. So this is a cut capo, and we're talking about alternate tunings. Sometimes you can do it like this, or you can tune your guitar, but having cut capos is fun. They have drop D capos where literally it's notched for the E string, so it's technically like drop E, but it sounds like drop D. This is cut to where you're just covering the A, the D, and the G string. So it's E, B, F sharp, whatever, and then B and E. And so it puts it in E-sus, okay? Yeah. And it kind of has a DADGAD-y sound to it where you can... I was playing, it's just noodling around, and you're like, Ah, sounds like Joni Mitchell. Well, I was walking in playing that, so I was like, what are you playing? It's like, nothing in particular. It just sounds great.
Yeah.
You know, there's like, you can play whatever, and it sounds fantastic.
Very cool, ethereal kind of chord shapes and stuff. And I think that's like things that since you're in standard tuning, you're going to stick to the shapes that you already know.
Yes.
And so you don't get a ton of that flavor of having open strings and then high fretted strings and all that. So it has a very particular cool sound to it. Yeah.
There was, what is that guitar player's name? It would escape me as we're doing this.
Jimi Hendrix.
No. The guy that he was the guitar player with Paul McCartney and Wings. He's a Martin artist. It'll come to me.
Juber.
Yes, Lawrence Juber, thank you. So Lawrence Juber is a fantastic guitar player, and one of the things I've always loved is he'll put the guitar in dadgad and then play normal forms for some of the craziest sounding stuff, and then just make it work, you know?
That's cool.
So yeah, alternate tunings is definitely a lot of fun. You got to get that. You could get one of these and try out E-sus. E-sus is a very ethereal tuning. It's not like the most divine tuning. That would be G-sus, but
oh no,
bad joke. But it's a lot of fun. So
yeah.
Definitely, if you aren't already doing so, try out some alternate tunings. So it's another great guitar life hack for creativity.
Well, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Boss Metal Zone. But,
I use that on every acoustic guitar I own.
This is, so,
if you want to get creative with acoustic guitars, put it through a Metal Zone.
Yeah, this is like the producer's secret weapon right here. You know, you throw this on every recording, and on the master track, you got it done.
That's it.
Using cool effects pedals, using stuff that you haven't messed around with before, play riffs that you already have written or already know with certain effects, and then add different effects on them. Yeah. I mean, technique-wise on guitar, it's one thing, experimenting with other effects, but in a songwriting sense and performative sense, and building your soundscape, it's very cool. So I grabbed this one because it's funny, but the thing is, I was thinking about it, and
overdrive on acoustic could actually be very cool.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff with that.
Fender came out with a pedal specifically for it.
Was it the Smolder?
Yeah, we have Eric Langenhahn.
Shout out to Eric on that
one. For that one. So,
but there's there's certain Boss pedals, certain Behringer pedals. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be that crazy of an investment.
Yeah.
Just to add. Everybody's got their delay and overdrive typically, and maybe a wah. But try out like a vibrato or a chorus or some modulation effects. I said Behringer, you can get a chorus for like $30, $25. I mean, they're not like a Boss super robust tank, but they're really cool and they sound great. They're modeled after these old pedals. They're like the same circuits of very classic pedals.
You know who I always thought used pedals with acoustic guitar to great effect? Is Phil Kagi, one of my guitar heroes, and maybe my guitar hero, since I was like in high school. But, I remember listening years ago and I love the sound of just a really good acoustic guitar, but listening back, he's got chorus going on and all sorts of stuff. He's kind of done looping before it was cool. And, listening to him utilize effects is fun. I think another thing that's benefited from the use of effects in recent years, too, have been guitar players that come out and they're playing kind of the tapping and slapping and percussive method, utilizing stuff like reverb and delay can really bring a lot of that to life. Yeah. Because when you are playing an acoustic guitar, one of the tonal aspects of an acoustic guitar is that it does not have the sustain of an electric guitar. It has more sustain than a banjo or a mandolin, but it has less sustain. It's part of the tonality of it. And what that does is it means that certain things you're going to try to do, the note's going to kind of die out. But if you can have it kind of that acoustic sound, but this decay that takes forever, you can be really creative with it, and you can just let things ring and see where things go. Definitely. You've talked about using a looper before for practice. But
it's one of the best
things. Fun thing to do is to use that not for practicing a song but for just kind of discovering some new paths on the guitar.
Yeah, if you have, you're struggling with solos and you're in a rut with solos, loop a chord progression and then just try a million different things, or add effects. I mean, you can build a song, or if you're on the computer, we talked about like on Logic or certain DAWs, you can find these effects, you can record, you can listen back, cut things up and move them around. Like Looper would probably be the most beneficial pedal that you could add into your, creativity rut to help you climb out. And RC1, best-selling pedal.
Yeah.
It's not a crazy investment for something that will just, make you explode with creativity.
Well, that comment is a great segue into the next idea that I had, and something that I employ on a regular basis, and that is playing just along with the radio, so to speak. I remember being in high school doing this. I do it now. If I've got a guitar in my lap and like there's music on, I will just try to find where it is and then play along with it and try to find those melodies and stuff. And that is, I think, really stretching at times. You become better and better and better at it the more you do it. But it's incredible practice, first of all, from an improvisation standpoint. It's great ear training.
Yeah.
It's great practice for learning where things are on the fretboard. And also understanding how musicians are putting melodies together in their songs. I mean, there's a lot of benefit to just taking your guitar, listening to something that maybe you're not familiar with and you don't have music for, and you're just trying to figure out what they're playing.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so much better for you as a guitar player than just looking up the tabs,
Have you ever noticed, maybe this is just me, I always remember a song better when I figure out how to play it rather than if I read the music or the tablature.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
And you can take, say patterns or anything that you've learned from learning by ear, and then that becomes applicable in, different places because you're learning based on like the visual and the sound instead of like reading it on tabs, So if you learn a little lick, I think probably, there's no science to back me up on this, but you're more likely to, if you learned it, by ear or something, transpose it, using it a different way instead of being like, well, this is reserved, that's a Jimmy Page,
I think it helps you understand the music theory of it, even if you don't understand the music theory of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of heady stuff when it comes to music theory, and a lot of people are very intimidated. But even when an idea of like learning to play by ear, people I think make harder. The bottom line is, for 99% of us, unless you're tone deaf, you can tell what sounds right and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And so if you're playing and you hit a note that sounds wrong, you'll know it sounds wrong because it sounds wrong.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of weave through and start figuring out a lot of the things that you can learn from music theory just while playing. So,
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm holding this for a reason.
Yes. So that brings us to a great point, which is experimenting with other guitars. You've got a nylon string in your hand, 12 strings, baritones, and you had a great idea.
Yeah, so if you've heard of like Nashville strung guitars or high strung guitars, so just like the Metal Zone, it's the producer's toolbox over here. You can take the high octaves from a 12-string set. Obviously, the high E and the B are going to be just unison or the same strings, but take the high octaves and string up your 6-string guitar just with the high octaves, and it sounds like a completely different instrument. A lot of great recordings. They'll do 6-string regular and then double it with the high strung and then pan them.
It's funny.
Get that.
This is done. It's called Nashville Tuning because it's a studio trick to deal with how out of tune most 12 strings are and how atrocious it is to record them. And so the solution was, we'll record a 6-string, we'll tune a normal guitar, like you said, with the octaves of a 12-string. We'll record that and we'll put them together, and then you've got your in-tune 12-string.
Yeah.
So that's the traditional way of doing it. But you can have so much creativity just playing it, because now what you would, like your thumb hitting that like bass line and stuff, it's different. Now that's a higher note.
Yeah.
And so it really is interesting. If you just sit down the first time you strum or try to finger pick anything on it, you're like, the tonality is totally different. The octaves are totally different. And it opens things up to try. You immediately start playing different stuff.
And it's weird because since those two B and E, the B and E string are the normal octave that they're in a just regular 6-string set. So that means that what was lower before, the G and the D, are higher than those strings. And so the same chord shapes that you do sound like completely different.
Yeah.
They're different voicings. That's really, really cool. And so I've enjoyed recording and then panning them left and right because it's like you're inside of a 12-string guitar,
Yeah.
It's really cool. But
and it looks like a really high-end apartment.
Absolutely, yeah. No, but you find riffs and chords in different ways, and so just by itself, it's really cool. Ted, from our piano channel,
Famous Ted
gave me a TED Talk the other day about how he has taken a 12-string set, thrown out the E, the low E, started with an A, and gone down from there, and then I guess the high octave, he finds it from like a pack of 8s or 7s or something and tunes it up like crazy. So it's almost like a Nashville strung guitar with the capo 5. And so he does all that. He was going on this crazy. I mean, if you've seen the piano channel, this guy can talk, about.
We gotta get Ted on here talking about Chapman sticks and stuff sometime. It's great.
No, but just things like that. It's not like there are really rules. I mean, if you throw too much tension, you're gonna screw up your guitar. But experiment with stuff like that.
Yeah, you can try out whatever. Yeah. You can tune it however. You can mix things up however. You might run into some issues with binding in the nut or whatever. You're not going to break the guitar. And strings are cheap, relatively speaking. The other thing that comes to mind that wasn't kind of on our list is trying strings that you typically wouldn't try out. And I'm not just talking about like a different tension or switching from phosphor bronze to 80/20s, but throw some flat wounds on the guitar. Like put flat wounds on a telly and see how much it changes the sound of the guitar and how much it changes what you suddenly want to play on that guitar.
You play jazz now.
You really, it's like suddenly you don't want a chicken pick, you're playing jazz. Yeah. So very, very cool stuff. Going back to what we were talking about, another tip that I would have, this kind of guitar life hack, if you will, is getting out of, and this could be whether you're playing along with something like we talked about, or just playing along the neck, get away from the patterns.
Yeah.
Get away from the scales that you're playing and just try stuff. I had this moment in a video that we shot where you blindfolded me, where I didn't really know where I was at times.
Yeah.
You play guitar long enough, and once you find a reference, you can pretty much be okay. But, there's times where I just didn't know where I was, and that's actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
And you can find a lot of things. Again, if it's really, really wrong, you'll know it's really, really wrong because the sound of it doesn't match. But sometimes it can be wrong, and then you can just build up tension and resolve it.
Yeah.
That's a very musical thing to do. And so that can be a lot of fun. Just getting into a place that you're not familiar with. And maybe you've been playing just kind of in the cash register, I call it, down here at Cowboy Court area. And what you want to try to do is you want to play up the neck, but it's intimidating. Just try stuff. Just start exploring up there. You can maybe start with a scale, but don't be beholden to it. Too many people, I think, get stuck in that box of patterns.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's all I got.
Well, I will say that the best thing that ever happened to me, guitar-wise, in terms of like a big jump out of a rut, was Maurice from Alamo Music, old school salesman extraordinaire. Just gave me a book of country licks when I was like walking out of the Babcock store at one point, and
those are the 12 licks he still knows to this day.
Exactly. No, I had never played like really any real country guitar. It was a chicken picking book with, banjo licks. I was probably like...
Had you been playing like bluesy stuff too?
Very blues and rock focused, and I was probably like 13 or 14 maybe.
Till last year.
Yeah, and he just had this book, and he was like, dude, check this out. It's like I learned some really cool stuff, because he did the exact same thing. Yeah. He was a crazy blues guy, wanted to spice things up, got a country book, and just if you play country, get a jazz book, or look stuff up online, but it's even cooler to get like a book, and it's like, here are 12 songs to learn, and
It's interesting, I find some people, I don't know why guitarists tend to do this, but it's kind of like, I'm going to be this genre of player.
Yeah.
And so I'm only going to study this genre of music. And I don't know about you, I think, given what you just said, you'll agree with me, the most impressive musicians to me are the musicians who will bring things from other genres and just do their own stuff.
Yeah.
And you can hear little bits and pieces in there. Like, I love how Greg Koch will play chicken picking stuff, and then these blues licks, or he'll play blues and then he'll throw in this weird chicken picking stuff.
Yeah.
Like the strangling cat thing that he does because he has giant, Sasquatch hands and stuff. But I've heard people playing, bluegrass stuff, and then suddenly you're hearing like a lick that comes from flamenco guitar.
Yeah.
And there's actually a lot of overlap in some of these things.
Yeah.
And it works really well. So yeah, I think exposing yourself to that and learning different genres and bringing it in and incorporating it makes you a better, more rounded musician and improves your music.
Totally.
All around. So, anything else?
When you're taking your strings off and you're detuning all your strings, when they're really loose, just play the same scale that you do sometimes. And every once in a while, something cool comes out.
Actually, you know what? You say that. One of the things we're talking about is I love creativity. I love just trying stuff. And going back to Phil Keaggy, he did one of the craziest things. It's actually part of one of his songs. And he takes a piece of plastic and he weaves it into the strings. And the guitar sounds like a kalimba.
That's pretty cool.
And he loops that and then plays some other stuff on it. And it gives it this really cool kind of world percussion type vibe. And it's like there's no rule. You're not going to find this in a book. It's like, hey, let's just try this. Oh, that's really cool. And then people wonder, like, why is he such a creative musician? Because he just tries stuff.
Yeah.
And so, just
put
try
a piece
stuff.
of foam right above the bridge. You got a mute on the guitar now.
Yeah.
It's cool. There's some really cool stuff that, like, once you try it, it's like, oh, I can do that. That's
there you
fine.
go.
Yeah.
So hopefully this helped you guys out, you guys and gals who are learning guitar and trying to be more creative. If you have other ideas that you think will help people that are stuck in their creative rut like me, go ahead and drop that in the comments below. We're all going to share our knowledge so that together we can become better and enjoy the instrument that we all love even more. Because I always say at the end of the day, the very best guitar in the world is the one that you're playing, and you play more when you're inspired and going through a metal zone with an acoustic guitar. I wonder how well the ES2 will go through the metal zone.
That's what they actually calibrated it for, yeah.
That makes so much sense to so many people now.
Run through a half stack on the metal zone.
If you're new to our channel, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos. If you'd like to find out about becoming an Alamo Music Insider, click on the link below in our description, and we will see you next time.